Morning, everyone, and welcome to the Help Me to Parent Facebook Live. Hope everybody is well. Today is going to be our Easter special, but it's also our 50th episode. Can't believe it. Can't believe we've done 50 episodes and we haven't been kicked off the internet yet. It's a bit of a shock. I appreciate everyone taking the time to message me and send me in your questions. Look, without those questions coming in, there wouldn't be this Facebook Live. So it's a really positive interaction that we all have. I hope everyone's having a nice week. It is the Easter special because it's Easter Sunday, and whether you believe in Jesus rising from the dead or whether you believe in chocolate from your local shop, I hope you and your family have a fantastic time together. Today I'm going with a little Calvin and Hobbes mug today. Calvin and Hobbes are great, so clever. So as I say, it's going to be an Easter special today. But I suppose just to remind everyone and also thank. So first off, thank you to everyone who has supported the Patreon page. I really appreciate it. It does make a difference. It does allow me to put more money into creating these podcasts and the ones that I have coming up. As I said last week, my motivation interview series will be coming back soon, and I'll be relaunching series 1 and 2. So for those of you who haven't listened, they are podcasts where I interview real people who have got different motivations and different things. So, you've got professional sports people, you have actors, you have people who volunteer, you have people who are building extraordinary houses that are not extraordinary because they're expensive, but extraordinary in different ways. So that'll be coming back in the next few weeks, so stay tuned to that. For those of you who maybe haven't checked out the Patreon page, it's a bit small at the moment, but we're going to start to build it now over the next 6 months or so. And if you can maybe support, even with the price of, a cup of coffee, a Calvin and Hobbes cup of coffee once a month, that would be fantastic. From as little as €1 to €1 million if you want. And thank you to the €1 million a month donator. I wish. Anyway, but yeah, it does make a difference and allows the podcast to continue on. So let's crack on with it. Oh, the Patreon page is patreon.com/the Al O'Donoghue podcasts. If you can't find it, send me a message on Twitter or Instagram or here on Facebook, and I'll send you on a link. So let's get into it now. Okay, first things first. Well, we have to say good morning, Jennifer, because she's just popped up a good morning there. Good to see you, Jennifer. I hope you're well. So first one, with Easter coming, I'm really worried about the amount of chocolate my 3 kids get. Every year the house is falling down with eggs and I don't want them eating it all. The other issue then is that myself and my husband end up eating a lot of it, and neither of us want that either. How do I stop people buying my children eggs? So across the world there are thousands and thousands of parents who are going, yep, that's exactly what happens in my house. It's happened here. I remember one of my kids, their first Easter, there was something like 10 or 12 Easter eggs for one child who was a baby who didn't eat chocolate. It was just bananas. And while we all appreciate the sentiment of giving and people taking the time to think about our children, which is lovely, we do all end up with a house full of chocolate that, if we started eating, could literally pile on the pounds to all of us. So it's something that, what I've noticed is that it is an issue that parents are focusing on a little bit more year on year, where they're starting to take on the idea that, well, there's no need for my children to have so much chocolate, and it's actually not great for their health. Now, there'll be the other side. I've just noticed. I hadn't even noticed that sitting beside my desk. Anyway, but the years ago, there was probably a lot of parents, and still today, a lot of parents who kind of go, don't care, it's one day, let them eat what they want, and that's fine. That's absolutely fine. The problem is if they eat what they want, they end up getting sick because they can't handle 12, 14, 16 Easter eggs in one day. It's well, maybe they can. Maybe you've got a very impressive child who can put the amount of chocolate away, or maybe you yourself have garnered a tolerance for Easter egg chocolate. But I think it's one of those things that it's absolutely okay for you to say to people, look, I really appreciate that you think about my child every year, but please don't buy an Easter egg this year. You know, get them a magazine, or get them, I don't know, something small, like the equivalent that they would spend on the Easter egg, a toy, or maybe just one of those little eggs that, I don't know, they seem to be banned in America that, kill children, apparently. There are lots of alternatives, or, maybe if it's grandparents, why not take the children out for a day out as opposed to buying them an Easter egg and have some fun together. Like, that could be just as important. Now, the other side of it is, if you don't have that relationship with people, or if people just ignore it and go, yeah, whatever, I'm going to get my grandchild or my niece or my nephew or my godchild an Easter egg, whether you ask me to or not, then what you can do is say, all right, thank you. We may not be comfortable having that discussion with people, but say thanks very much. And maybe you can look at going to your local women's refuge or your local homeless aid and donating a large majority of those eggs to people who maybe don't have that opportunity to get chocolate, get 4 or 5 Easter eggs. They might not even get one. So, I don't know if your local children's hospital or children's ward would take them, but it's worth checking out. All it is the cost of a phone call or a little search online. I think it's something that would make a big difference. And the other thing is, you can have that conversation with your children. It goes right back to what we've discussed in the past around making our children aware of donating and contributing to their community for those who maybe need a little bit more than what your kids have. So I know I've done it in the past. Myself and my wife have sat down with our kids and say, look, there's no way you guys can eat all this chocolate, and it's not going to happen. So what we were thinking was, we might donate it to the local women's refuge. And the kids were like, yeah, great. They were completely on board with it because, they're not stupid. They know that amount of chocolate is not good for them. They still get to have their chocolate. It's not like we're taking it all away from them, but they still get it. But they feel good then that they know that it's going somewhere better and that they're actually helping out and contributing. And that all helps to get our kids thinking about, we have something to contribute in our community and we can help people out. It doesn't have to be giving up hours and hours every week. It can be something as simple as just donating Easter eggs or old toys once or twice or 3 times a year. That's all it has to start off at. So think about what you have in terms of a relationship with people who are giving your children eggs. You don't have to give your children the Easter eggs, and you don't have to eat it all. Now, that's all easily said and done. I know if there's a ton of chocolate in this house, there's a good chance I would eat it all. But if you don't want to do that, or you don't feel that you can just hold on to the chocolate and give it to your kids over the course of 6 months, donate it. Give it away. What's the problem? You're not going to eat it anyway, and it's going to somebody who might appreciate it more than you actually know or you ever find out. So give it a go. Thank you, Jennifer. Yeah, donate it. It's the same as at Christmas time. Absolutely. So, next one. I need a wee sup of coffee here. My 12-year-old and my 7-year-old. Okay, before I read this, I do have to put out a disclaimer. So, parents or anyone listening to this, if you have a child near you or who is listening in with you while we're discussing this, now's the time to turn off. Now's the time to put them out of the room. Now's the time to take them away, because we're going to be talking about something that maybe you don't want your child to know at this stage. So, disclaimer, turn off now if you have a child listening. All right? Okay. I hope that's fair warning. If it's not, it's on yourself. Okay. My 12-year-old and my 7-year-old were having an argument recently, and in the heat of the fight, my eldest boy turned to the youngest and told him that there was no Easter Bunny. I now have a devastated 7-year-old and a very remorseful 12-year-old. How do I sort this mess out? It happens the world over where we get into an argument or a disagreement with somebody and we say things we don't mean. We say things that weren't meant to come out. We say things that we absolutely regret. So here you have your 12-year-old who is feeling very remorseful, probably regretting big time having said those words in the heat of the argument. Now, let's be honest, there's a good chance that your 12-year-old was provoked. You know, they were having a fight. There's a good chance that that little fella was poking away at the big guy and he put it out there. And now you have that 7-year-old who is devastated. So I suppose the first thing is, it's about, let's separate, right? So at some point, you're going to have to deal with your kids fighting. Now, kids fight all over the place, but you do have to reprimand them and say, this is not how to handle things in this house. And maybe have a little look at yourself and see, is this how I handle things? Do I fight with people when I want to get a point across, or if I'm feeling tired or whatever? So it is important that what you can do is you can sit down and say to them, okay lads, this behaviour is not okay. You can't get to a point that that you end up saying or doing things that you regret. You need to separate yourself if it's getting to that point. And don't just put all the responsibility on the elder child, because that's what happens a hell of a lot. And it's easily done because we have the assumption that because they're older, they need to be more mature and understand more. But that's not fair either. So it's important that both children get reprimanded for it and both get told, this is not okay and you need to take responsibility for yourself. Right, that's one half. The other half, the Easter egg. I would certainly sit down with your elder and say, look, I understand you said it and you're completely wound up and annoyed and frustrated. But I think it's important you go and speak to your brother and explain to him that, look, I didn't mean it. I was angry and I was just trying for something to get back at you because I was frustrated. And put the onus back on him, because that will help him to process the remorse. It doesn't take it away, but what it does is it allows him to be involved in the process of making things up or sorting things out with his younger brother. You may need to be close by when this conversation is taking place to see that it doesn't escalate further, but have that conversation and maybe put it back on him to actually sit back and look at, well, what do I need to say to my brother to make him okay with it? And then you manage whatever comes afterwards. So if your 7-year-old comes back to you and says, he told me that there actually is an Easter Bunny and that, you know, he was just angry at me, and you go, well, there you go. And it's up to you then if you want to carry that on. Absolutely there is. Absolutely there is. Or if you decide, do you know what, maybe he's old enough to know, but it's up to you to decide. But give that a go and put it back on your 12-year-old, but do treat them both equally in terms of taking responsibility for their own actions, because that's really important. Because so often, maybe I'm speaking as an eldest child here, but so often the eldest child gets, the expectation is higher because they're older. And as I say, there are many, many adults across the world who get poked and respond in a way that they shouldn't. So why should we expect 12-year-olds to do the same when they're getting poked by somebody that, you know, takes all their stuff, that gets in the way, that, you know, annoys them, just wants to be with them the whole time, and it's like, get away from me. So there you go. Come back to me if you need more help on that one. Okay, last one for today. I'm at my wit's end. Myself and my husband separated last October, and it's been a messy breakup. I've tried to be level-headed and fair, but he keeps pushing and trying to undermine me. Financially, I've been left with very little, so don't have as much disposable income as my ex, and he tries to buy our son things, in inverted commas. I got my son a big Easter egg, which I was really happy with, but he arrived home from his dad's this evening, proclaiming that dad had got him a brand new console for Easter. I couldn't believe it. I feel so down about this. is there anything I can do? Now, I got that last night, and my immediate reaction was just pure empathy towards this person. That must be so frustrating when you're in a financial situation where, but you're also you're in a financial situation where it's difficult for you, and at the same time you are trying to manage expectations for your child. And I was only working with some clients yesterday, 2 separate clients yesterday, not related, not anything, in different parts of the country, and in similar situations where one was the person doing all the buying and I would buy my child anything, and the other one was in a position where they were the ones who were having to maintain the boundaries and not just spoil their kids rotten. And in a lot of my experience, it is the dad who will be buying because he's the non-resident parent in a lot of cases. Now, I'm not saying it about dads, I'm not saying it about mums, I'm just saying in my experience that's the case. So, okay, there's a couple of things going on here. Firstly, it sounds like you need to get some emotional support to manage this, to manage the impact of the breakup on you. So I would suggest maybe going and speaking to a counsellor or a therapist or a coach. And okay, you've stated that financially you're in a very difficult position, but there are opportunities out there to go and get some sort of counselling or coaching at a reduced rate. There are people out there willing to reduce their prices for people who are in difficult financial situations, or you may find somebody who'll do it for free. What I will say is, if you do find someone who's going to do it for free, engage in the process. Just because it's free, don't just dismiss it, because sometimes we do. It'll benefit you, and you need that. It sounds like you need that support to manage your own feelings. And this is something bigger than just an Easter egg. This is something where a lot of the time one parent will try and carry favour with the child or the children, which will then undermine the other parent, which is a little dig. And it's an intentional little dig. It may be a subconscious intentional dig, but it is definitely an intentional dig. And what happens then is, when we start to use the children as a way to get back at the other parent, we then start to disrespect our children and put them in a position that they should not be in. They're already having to manage being part of a breakup. They're already having to manage their own feelings. They may feel guilty. They may feel it was their fault. They may have heard things. Some parents will turn around in anger and say, if it wasn't for that child, I would have never married him in the first place. And the child can hear that. So it's something that we need to be aware of. What I'd say to you is, maybe sit down with your child and go, aren't you lucky that you got that? But sometimes it's not the size of the gift that's important, it's what the sentiment behind it. So here's my gift to you, this is what I can give you, and I will give you this and so much more, because I will give you my love and my time and my appreciation, and I will work for you, and I will also give you the boundaries that you need. You don't need to say that last part, but it's important. Take the time to sit down with your child and explain that, look, we are in 2 different financial situations, and we're trying to manage it as best we can. Or I'm trying to manage it as best I can. So while I can't buy you everything that you might want, I will be the one who's here for you. I will be here for you. I will give you whatever you need. And if you need me to do stuff for you, we can sit down and look at it and see how it goes. Your child is a child, so they may react with, well, I want stuff. I want stuff. And that's just the way it is. And that's something else that you have to manage. Maybe your child needs some support to manage this breakup, but that's something we don't think about often. We will look to get our children support for bereavement, or for, when they're diagnosed with anxiety or whatever it might be. But sometimes a child just might need a bit of support to go, I hate my mum and I hate my dad for putting me in this position. And that's something real. That's something that they all can have to put up with. So maybe they might just need a little bit of support, where it's not someone who's emotionally attached or involved with them. So maybe your child might need a bit of support. And then there is the other side, your ex. Now, it's very, very difficult, because you can't tell him what to do or what not to do. And that's a really, really difficult position. But what you can do is you can let him know that we need to be realistic about the expectations we set for our child. So if they're getting a console for Easter, you're probably talking easily, now I don't know, but I'm assuming it's going to be 2 to 4 to 500 quid, when you might be just normally buying a €10 Easter egg. So, and what you might put that to them, and you might go, I will buy my child what I want when I want. But then you need to look at, okay, well, if that's what you're going to do, then you'll be the one. No, actually, we'll both be the ones who have to deal with a child who's growing up expecting to get what they want. And when they don't, it'll be arguments, fights, and disagreements. And that's all fine and manageable when your children are small. That's not so fine and manageable when your children are teenagers and they're physically bigger than you or the same size as you. Or where, as teenagers, they will go further than you will go. And they say, get me a new, smartphone that costs €1,500. Otherwise, I'll smash up the house. That happens. It actually happens. Now, it may be a rare occurrence, not happening in every house, but it does happen. And that can be a result of people spoiling their children from when they're younger and creating unrealistic expectations. So as parents, what we need to do is look at what standard we're setting for our child, because things can change. Financial situations can change very, very quickly, and it's something that we need to be aware of. So the things: contact your ex and talk about the expectation levels that you're setting for your children and the potential impact that could have. And then you need to let it go, because you have no control over what he does. Okay. Secondly, sit down with your child and talk about how the size of the gift or the value of the gift does not show the value of the love for you, for that child. Okay. And then thirdly, look at yourself. Do you need support to manage the breakup, to manage your feelings and what's going on for you in this breakup, and see how it goes? Again, if things come up for you, send me a message and I will always converse with you. I will always converse with people who are in need or need support, and maybe we can look at ways to find you that support that you need. So that's it. I hope you guys have a wonderful Easter, whether you celebrate it or not. I hope you have a lovely day come Sunday, and maybe some nice time off with your family if you get that. I will be back next week, and until then, take care. See you.